Hey there. So I got home from work today. I started reading my comments. I haven't actually been able to actually respond to many of them right yet, but some great stuff there. So it's getting closer to Halloween, and people are finding my some of my Halloween videos reviews that I did last year, and which I really love. If you haven't checked out the reviews I did last year, me and my son Matt actually got together and reviewed most of the series. Uh, we did them all, I think, but I think he was there for most of them. So, Boomstick Critique actually had some really cool comments that actually uh, made me think, and it actually made me realize why. Because I always would say like the Rob Zombie films don't work, and people are like, do they not work for you as Halloween films? Do they not work for you as horror films? But we don't have to go into part two. Part two is a horrible mess that isn't well made in any stretch of the imagination, and no, part two is horrible. But we're not talking about that. Part one uh, is what we're going to talk about, and I guess part two to a uh, smaller amount. But why does Rob Zombie's Halloween films not work? In my opinion, I think I just cracked that code. I'll be right back. Hey there, and in order to talk about why Rob Zombie's films, as well, the first one, especially as Halloween, doesn't work, we first got to talk about John Carpenter's original Halloween. And here's the thing that I wanted to put. I want a disclaimer right at the beginning before I start this. When I do this, uh, I'm not going to just be knocking Rob Zombie's film because it's not John Carpenter's Halloween. That's not fair. There's lots of remakes out there, and I won't do it based on like this because there are many remakes out there that I really like. I like The Blob, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The Philip Kaufman version is actually my preferred version over the original, although I do love the original as well. And the thing goes without saying that I love the John Carpenter edition of that one better than the Howard Hawks one. Though, again, I do like them both. Now, that being said, I do think that Rob Zombie's theatrical cut of Halloween is a much better produced, put together, and more coherent, sensical film than the mess that was the director's cut. The director's cut, if that was Rob Zombie's idea for what he thought how the Halloween franchise should be, or film should be, as opposed to what the theatrical cut was, it's a good thing that they had somebody to rein him in this circumstance, because the things that he put into the director's cut actually took away from uh, the flow and the sense of the film, and just made very little sense. But here's the thing: in John Carpenter's original, we meet Michael Myers. Now you have to understand this: when we're doing Halloween, let's stick with the first one. We're not going to go on to like Laurie Strode or Danielle Harris's character of Jamie or any of that stuff. Remember, all that stuff is later. In the first Halloween film, Michael Myers is a guy just from a normal family that suddenly kills his sister. He's locked up for years. He gets out and he starts stalking and killing these three babysitters around his sister's age when she was murdered. There was no plans at the time or ever around then for Laurie Strode's character to be his sister or anything like that. Actually, that was just the opposite of really what they wanted to do. The idea was to make him, and they talk about it in the film, the boogeyman. And why is that so important? Because it's based on our childhood fears. Everybody got their own version of what the boogeyman is. That's the reason the mask is the way that it's done. You can project whatever you fear onto that white kind of like featureless mask, and that's not a bad thing. That actually works really well within the context and of the film, and that's that concept is something that Rob Zombie doesn't get. And I'm not the first person to say that he doesn't understand that you don't need to explain. Actually, explaining takes away from the character. You don't learning that Michael Myers had a bad childhood and that he had kind of a white trash like upbringing. His mom's a stripper. Doesn't do anything to make you fear the character of Michael Myers. Actually, it kind of takes away from it. It humanizes him. And the more you humanize a character like this, the less effective it is. And sometimes, but now it's a crapshoot. There are times when humanizing a character couldn't work and can actually make this character into somebody that can be feared or looked at in different ways. That doesn't work because in this one here, although I did enjoy parts of the youthful part of the Rob Zombie Halloween film, it doesn't really go anywhere. It pretty much sets it up to give you, if you ever watch ID, the Investigation Discovery Channel, it's like that. It's like he's cribbed from something like that and said, okay, these are all horrible things that happen. The kid's got to be torturing and killing animals. That's the sign of being a serial killer. He's got a bad home life. He's not loved enough. He has one strong parental role model, one that's really not very good at all, and the house is a shambles. All these reasonings behind it. But then after he gets into the asylum, he does some pretty much what we would consider pop psychology type stuff. There's nothing deep about any of the stuff that he's doing, and I think it's more clever in Rob Zombie's mind than it is in the payoff itself. It's very pop psychology. It's very much if you're at a party and you met this person that kind of assumed that they knew everything. If you ever watch Saturday Night Live and you see they do this ongoing character called this girl at the party that you wish you never ran into. That's what Rob Zombie's comes off as with this film here.
Or he wrote a fan fiction for Halloween.
But not for Halloween. It doesn't work for Halloween. I mean,
yeah, but that's the thing. That's what fan fiction is. It doesn't have to work. People who do fan fiction, they just do origin stories or what ifs, and that's what he did.
But see, that could work. But we got to remember Part 6 by Daniel Farrens, the guy that did the documentaries. He definitely wrote a fan fiction for Halloween. He looked at all the early stuff. He put it all together. He had the rune stones, and he obviously read the novelization for Part 2, and put all the stuff in there.
It's the 50 Shades of Grey of Twilight. Doesn't mean it's good.
Well, I understand. Well, I don't think Rob Zombie even got that. I mean, I think
I think he did.
I think he freaked. I think here was a guy that got in to do a big movie, and I do not think, by any stretch of the imagination, that Rob Zombie even didn't like Halloween. I think Rob Zombie loved Halloween, really loved Halloween, and yet, as he started to make the film, all that started to fall apart. He went from talking in reverence to the film to literally, if you can read the interviews and stuff like that they did, and as he slowly starts to say, okay, this doesn't work. I changed this because this didn't work. This didn't make sense in the original one. I never thought that made sense. No, Rob, you did. But you took on too much, and that's okay. It wasn't a Halloween style film. But here's where it really doesn't work. Here's where it loses me completely. And here's the thing. Here's the big concept, the conceit that I think you have to follow in order for this whole video to make sense. Michael Myers is the boogeyman. It's fear. It's a fear-based character. There's not a lot of blood in the movie Halloween. Barely any, to be honest with you. Uh, there's a lot of like noise, and there's a lot of like, did I just see that, or the corn type thing? Because its basis is on fear and what frightens us. And that Rob Zombie tried to make all that logical. And a lot of people do say, so well, Rob Zombie trying to explain, they tried to make it logical. Some of the stuff that was done in the earlier films weren't, didn't make sense. It weren't logical. It wasn't logical for the guy to like be shot so many times and fall off the house and disappear. But that's the thing. If there's anything in this world that has absolutely zero logic to it, that's fear. Fear is an utterly, completely illogical emotion. You're lying in the dark at night, and you imagine something in your closet. 9 chances out of 10, there's nothing in that closet. But that doesn't stop this overwhelming sense of dread and fear from suddenly coming over you. It may have came out of nowhere. Maybe you heard a noise downstairs, and all of a sudden your mind starts to rush. And that's where Halloween works. And we have got a physical embodiment of fear, the most illogical thing that you can imagine. And that's why all of this can. That's why he can disappear. That's why you can shoot him so many times, and he can come back again. You don't need the explanation. You don't even need the explanation of Part 6 to explain it out. You don't need to say it's a cult or anything like that. All you have to know is that fear has come to your town, and this time, that 10th time, when you look in your closet, something's there. There's no real reason for it. There's no explanation. It's not at all logical. But that is what makes Halloween Halloween. And that's why Rob Zombie's Halloween doesn't work. The whole concept of that is completely lost and ran over in the film. So there you go. That is my reasoning and my thoughts on why I don't think Rob Zombie's Halloween works. And why I think the original Halloween will work for many, many years to come. Now, you may ask me what would I think if this wasn't called Halloween? Well, here's the thing. We can't go with that. Because that's great to say, hey, what if it wasn't called Halloween? Well, it is. Rob Zombie made a movie with Michael Myers and Laurie Strode and called it Halloween. So when you go to do something like that, and what about putting your own spin on something? Yes, then that works to a degree as well. I don't want to see a carbon copy of what I've seen before. That being said, I do want to see it stay at least within the same universe of of what was done before. At least have that same genesis of an idea. Rob Zombie, I'm sure, and I know he could have, because I don't think Rob Zombie is not a talented director. I think he does have a lot of talent, and Lords of Salem, to me, proved that he had a lot of talent. But he didn't get it this time. He didn't get the fear. And that's my thoughts on why Rob Zombie's Halloween doesn't work as a Halloween film. Thanks for watching. For me right now, I've been eyeing this tea for ages. I'm so thirsty. It is time for tea. Thank you so much for staying for the after credit sequence. Right off, one thing I have to do is I have to thank Boomstick Critique for being the genesis for making this video. You probably aren't going to agree with me if you're watching after credit sequence, and that's okay. That's the fun of debating and talking on the internet. But that's why that was my reasoning behind it, and I love when I get an idea like where don't have to go out and show a movie every time and stuff, and I can just talk to you guys and start up a conversation. Hopefully, this can start a conversation, and you guys can understand why it didn't work. At least didn't work for me, and I didn't think it worked in the whole concept of what Halloween is. Thanks for watching, guys. For me right now, I still have that tea that I still haven't drank, and I really want to do that. So for me right now, it's time for tea. Thanks a lot.